Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I came across something that is of interest to me because, again, I care a hell of a lot more about strength sports and strength training than I do the whole physique and bodybuilder end of YouTube fitness. I'm just not interested in the latter. But Igor over at VitruvianPhysique is peaking his bench press for meet, wants to set an all-time lifetime PR by something like 40 pounds over his lifetime best, or 30 pounds, I believe. He wants to hit a 365. So I was really interested in watching what it is that he's doing. And I'm going to set aside whatever beefs I've had with him in the past, because the guy did call me out. Basically, he was bragging about how my genetics are the worst in the world. He actually said that God hates me. Interesting. He thinks that God hates me and that he had such amazing genetics compared to me. And then I kind of retorted back that he was a weak pussy with no calves and bench press was the only lift he could do. That he sucked at anything lower body. But we're going to set that aside and let's give it honest criticism, because even someone who I've had a beef with, I still want them to be a good representative of strength sports. I still want them to get stronger. I want them to be successful. So I was interested in this because, well, number one, most of you know, people usually say that I'm strong on everything but the bench press. Like, people are like, man, your bench sucks compared to your squat, your deadlift, your overhead pressing, your chin-ups. And so I'm actually pushing a little more bench focus these days myself. And it's not that I don't know how to program the bench or train for it or anything else. It's that I'm not well built to bench, and I don't like the bench press, even though I have a powerlifting background. But I do realize I need to do that. So it's interesting to me because what he is going to hit is, what he's trying to hit a 365 is heavier than I've ever actually hit on camera. Not that I've ever hit in my life when younger, before YouTube existed, but the heaviest I've ever hit on a camera is lighter than what he's going for. So that's interesting to me, and I wanted to see what it is that he's doing. And so I want to give some honest criticism and what he's doing good and what he's doing bad, because he's actually getting a lot of stuff really right. And what I want to say he's getting wrong is maybe what he thinks he's going to pull off, unless he plans on bulking hard or doing a cycle of gear. And if he's competing USAPL, which I think he competes tested, if he gets drug tested, that may not be an option. So we'll talk about the numbers in a minute and the possible problems he might have. But as far as what he's doing for programming, I think it's decent. It's not unreasonable at all. It's not unreasonable at all. Because what's he doing? He's coming in, he says he's training the bench every 3 days, right? So a little higher frequency than twice a week, because twice a week would be 3 days and 4 days, which is what I'm doing right now, right? With concurrent periodization. And he pointed out that, you can't train everything at once. We have intensity, we have volume, and we have frequency. Those are your three variables, right? That's your three variables on any exercise that we can manipulate. That really is. Other stuff is really not as important as those three. Intensity, which means weight on the bar, right? Your 1 rep max, percentage of your 1 rep max. Volume, how much total work you do in a session. Frequency, how often you're doing it. So what he's doing right now with it is relatively low volume, fairly high intensity. I mean, start hitting 90%, that's pretty intense. We're getting up there. And you don't want to go much more than 90% in training most of the time, unless you're doing a true max effort for a reason and you're programming, and you need to be careful with how you program those. And he's doing fairly high frequency because he's going a hair more than twice a week. With every 3 days, that's just a bit more than twice a week. That's like 3 times every 9 days. So what he did in this workout, and I will say, higher frequency, higher intensity with less volume is a good way to peak for meets. So he's not wrong in any way there. And what he's essentially doing is he doesn't want to reduce weight during the workout. So he's not trying to do drop sets. He wants to maintain the exact same intensity through a workout. So he's starting with a normal bench, and that's where I'm going to take offense with. A touch and go bench is not a normal bench. That's a stupid bodybuilder bro bench. That's called a touch and go bench. Igor, if you're going to be a strength athlete, talk like a strength athlete. Not a goofy ass bodybuilder. Leave that goofy G for P lifestyle behind. Be an athlete. All right, a normal bench is a pause bench. A meet legal bench is a normal bench press in the strength world. The other thing that bro benching, with bouncing it off your chest and all that silly shit that they do and lifting their ass up into the air off the bench, that's not a normal bench. That's called like bro benching, and it's made fun of. It's stupid. Now, touch and go is still, it's called a touch and go bench, right? We don't call pause bench a pause bench. We just call it a bench, right? Make that clear, Igor. You're doing a normal bench press, except it's still not meat legal, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then you're doing a touch and go, and then he does a slingshot. And he's doing sets of 3. And I don't actually see a problem with that strategy. I don't think it's unreasonable what he's doing, because he's wanting to get in a reasonable amount of volume. He's wanting to get, I think, around, 6 work sets with a fairly heavy weight, with 90%. But he doesn't want to reduce the weight he's feeling in his hands, because he doesn't want to reduce that intensity. So he's trying to focus on, I guess, staying with at least 300 pounds. So he did 2 sets of 3 with 300 with a pause. Butt flat on the bench. He does struggle with tightness a little bit, and that's one reason he has that problem with the bridging. He mentioned in the video he has a problem with bridging. He didn't call it that, but that's what it's called. When your butt comes off the bench, you're bridging. It's lack of tightness. You got to learn to dig in tighter. All right, get your feet set tighter in the floor, get your glutes set tighter in the bench, arch a hair more, and that'll grow away. So the bridging is a problem for him. Now here's what I'm going to point out. I'm a little concerned with, as hard as it appeared to be with those elbow sleeves. Those elbow sleeves are not meat legal. Elbow sleeves let you lift a few more pounds, by the way. You wear elbow sleeves, and this is going to piss some people off. You wear elbow sleeves exclusively for the purpose of ego lifting. When you put sleeves on, we put on sleeves so that we can lift more weight. They're like a weaker version of a knee wrap, right? That's why you wear them. They don't reduce injuries. They don't help retain heat. That's total BS. We wear sleeves to lift more weight, to add another 5-10 pounds, right? So let's assume he's getting 5 pounds out of the sleeves. 300 for a triple fresh, right? His only thing heavy he did before that was a 275 for a single, then went to 300 for a triple. Now 300 for a triple is not bad. In fact, you guys know I'm trying to work on bench more. The other day, because I started going a little wider, I'm not doing a medium grip because I've done exclusively closed grip for many, 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 many years. After doing max work, I hit a 225 press, then I hit a 100-pound dead hang chin up, and then failed a heavier weighted chin up, right? And then I did back off work with the bench afterwards in the same workout. I did 300 pause, meat legal, for a pretty easy triple. You guys see where I'm going with this? I bet right now my max is about what his estimated max is. He worked harder. He was working harder for that first triple. That was a higher RPE than what I was doing with my back off work, and I was already fatigued. He was fresh, and he had the elbow sleeves on. I think right now, and I hate to have to tell him this, Igor, I don't think your max bench is quite 335. I bet my max bench right now is 335. Right? I'm actually testing mine in a few days, so we'll find out. I'm testing it again this week to see where I'm at, because I'm trying to focus on my bench a little more, because it is my weak link. I'd be willing to bet my max bench right now is no higher than 335. I did my back off triple without sleeves a little easier than you did yours. And it's not bragging. That's not saying anything like that, because if I'm only benching as much as him at a much heavier body weight, that's not brag worthy. The same weight, if we're benching the same weight, if I can outbench you by 1 pound, I'm stronger than you. But if we're doing the same weight and you weigh less than me, you got me. All right, that's how strength sports work. But if I outbench you by 1 pound, I'm still stronger than you. But we may be in the same strength range. But I'm concerned looking at that he might be a hair weaker than me. Okay, now if he's projecting to hit in 8 weeks from the day that workout was filmed, 8 weeks to peak. And if his current max, based upon that opening couple of triples, if his 1 rep max is under 335, that means he's got 8 weeks to peak and hit a lifetime best when he's not even peak. He might not quite have the muscle and strength to hit his previous best. Man, that's a stiff order. I would almost say to him, that's going to be hard unless you are willing to bulk into that 8 weeks. So if he weighs at a certain weight and he plans on competing at that weight, especially if he's going to do a meet with 2-hour weigh-ins, it might be like, you might get your numbers if you're willing to bulk 10 pounds, right? If you're willing to bulk 10 pounds and go up a weight class, he might get it, but he's starting, based upon that opening heavy work, I feel like his current max might be a hair under what he's calculating it at. And also when people say, well, he's probably been doing higher volume training because I didn't see what he's done before, so his work capacity is probably up, but the peak strength is down, so he needs to peak it. Other than when he got to his AMREP, this is only the 6th work set though, right? 6th work set, he did an AMREP at the slingshot with 300, and he got, what, 6? The reason I say that, and people will be like, oh, slingshots don't give you that much. I think they give more than 30 pounds. And the reason I say that is that I watched a friend of mine. I watched a bro of mine one time at the gym, a guy named Mikey back in the UK, who did his last meet max. So I forgot what his exact max was, but he put the same weight that he benched in comp, and he was a drug tested guy too. And he put it on there with a slingshot, and he got 8 reps with his competition max. Getting 6 with supposedly 90%, even though you're a bit fatigued, it's back off work. 6 with your 90%. I watched a guy get 8 with his lifetime best meat lift with a sling, that exact same, the red slingshot. So I'm looking at that, and it's like the peak strength and the work capacity for the bench aren't there. And I'm not saying he's not going to come in and smash it. He very well, with 8 weeks to peak, even if he's below his previous peak, he probably will PR. He probably will PR. But to make a 30-pound PR, if he's going to come in at the same body weight, if he's not bulking into this meet, a 30-pound bench PR when your current estimated max is probably a little less than your last peak, could be a stretch. Could be a stretch, particularly at his body weight and size. It might be a bit of a stretch. Granted, he's specializing in the bench. He's focusing on the bench more, so that will help him a little bit. But, you know, it might very well end up being a 5-pound. It might end up being a 10-pound. But I just feel like, again, a 365 with a 335 lifetime best, 8 weeks to go, and your current numbers are a little under that. If you're going to do this totally drug-free and you're going to do it without gaining weight or going up a weight class, I don't know. I think that's going to be a little tough. And I'm just basing that estimated upon where his strength is right now, watching his higher effort lifts and then his work capacity on the back off work. Just my opinion on it. I could be dead wrong. I guess we'll see, you know, when 8 weeks rolls around, which is really only, what, about 5-6 weeks now. I guess we'll see where he's at. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.